something interesting is sure to happen. Well, I think you ought to tell me who you are first. Mr. Rabbit? Then why did you ask the question?
Goodness, this is quite extraordinary.
Would you tell me, please, which way I ought to go from here?
But today is turning into the most curious adventure I have ever had.
Welcome to the Ellis in Wonderland podcast. This is your place to open your mind, let your sense of wonder, imagination, and most importantly, curiosity loose. So I'm your host, Georgia Ellis, and today I'm joined by Mahendra Shah. So Mahendra has a very colourful life and so many pieces of experience that we can draw on today, and I'm really excited to get the conversation started. But just to give everyone a little bit of insights, Mahendra had a 35-year career with the UN. So he now living in Bali and operates Zen Resort. So this is a lovely sanctuary where guests get to experience the knowledge and means to achieve personal harmony with their body, mind and spirit. So Mahendra combines healthy nutrition and diet with Ayurveda therapy, yoga, meditation, pranayama and holiday recreational activities. Sounds like a place we all need to go, as well as emotional healing to create a wonderful integrated and holistic approach to wellness. So let's get curious with Mahendra. So welcome Mahendra to the podcast.
Pleasure to be on Alice in Wonderland, because that can save the paths we are on throughout this world.
Absolutely. So I'm going to ask you a question before we start diving into and getting really curious about your mission, your passion, your lessons from your life and all the experience you've had. So I have one question that I ask all of my guests, and that is, if I was a 7-year-old girl and I bumped into you in Bali, because that's where you're coming to us from, in the street in Bali, and I said, Mr. Shah, what is it that you do? What do you do for work? What do you do? So how would you answer me as a child? What would you tell me that you did?
I would say that at the age of 7 years, your life is ahead of you. You need to take care of your health. You need to understand what is going on around you. And you need to start dreaming of what kind of a world would you want. And the most important thing in thinking along these lines will be to ask yourself, am I eating well? Am I want to be? And all of these answers to such questions with every 7-year-old has is the rainbow in front of him, the dreams they have. And I am working on seeing how we can make sure that everyone in this world can eat well and sleep well and can be healthy. How can we ensure that all the beautiful animals we see in this world will stay alive for the future? How can we ensure all these colorful flowers and trees and all these people singing such a beautiful world, how that this will always be there, and you can be the one that also be part of that world. That's what I would say to them.
That is wonderful. And not only is it inspiring, but it makes me think about, well, what can I do as a 7-year-old to be able to make that difference? So tell us a little bit about why or how you got to where you are today. So you're now living in Bali and you're running a retreat there. How did you come to be doing this?
Well, let me begin by introducing myself, that my mother and father are from India. So in a way, I have Indian heritage in me. I was born in Kenya in Africa, so I have African upbringing until the age of 18. Then my education was in Europe, basically in the United Kingdom. And so I have European education. I spent almost 35 years working and associated with the United Nations and the World Bank and international scientific institutions, working in some 12 countries around the world. And my work has focused on how do we make this world sustainable. So basically, I started my career in 71 when Human Future book was published, the beginning of the Sustainable Development Movement. So third, and having had perhaps the greatest honor was to write Agenda 21. This was done at the Earth Summit, where I had the honor to prepare this document. And my focus has been on climate change, on hunger, on food security. These are some of the wide areas. As it happened in 2002, I was at a United Nations conference in Bali, in South Bali in Nusa Dua. And sitting on the beach, I realized that our world can never be sustainable. And here is me with 35 years of work on sustainable development. And it hit me that the world cannot be sustainable because human beings are not sustainable. What do you mean by human beings are not sustainable? I asked myself the question because it was totally changing my whole 35-year career. And then I thought about it sitting on that beach in a beautiful environment, that we are not sustainable because our eating is not correct. Food is thy medicine. Thy medicine is food. This is the law of modern medicine. It is called Hippocrates' Oath. So we are not eating correctly. What do you mean we are not eating correctly? Well, the food we need is not there. We used to have 10,000 seed varieties of wheat in this world that people grew. Today we have 400 varieties. We have narrowed our genetic base of wheat so that we have more calories. We've got rid of the nutritional part of it. That's why people get allergy to wheat. So the food we need often is not there. There is always the dilemma of organic and modern production. Secondly, we don't know how to eat. In our grandmother's days or great-grandmother's days, we would laugh, we would joke, and we always ate together. This gave us time for our saliva to flow and help our digestion. Today, we grab a sandwich at our desk. We eat on the run. And this is why we have so many problems in digestive problems and others. So food is a major problem. And that is, remember, food has to be delicious because that's passion. That's a human passion. Second to food is exercise. Exercise, going to the gym, going jogging, yoga. The answer is no, because exercise has 3 dimensions: physical, mental, and spiritual. We must always balance the 3, and that is very important to do that mix of exercise. Thirdly, we have stress in our life. We have stress at home. Our children didn't go to the right school. The car has had a problem, has an accident. The plumber hasn't come, and that causes stress, even though the solution is in sight. We have stress at work. Our work environment, our education environment is one of always stress. It's a highly competitive world. And the one that, unfortunately, who pushes the ones around you is the one that rises. So this is causing problems not only in the workplace, it's causing problems for our children in school, that they also have to be channeled into careers at a very early age. So stress is a major problem at home and at work. And lastly, our world is becoming ever more polluted. So these 5 components is what is driving what we call today modern lifestyles. And the whole world, including everyone, even in the littlest village in this world, want to be on this bandwagon of modern lifestyles. And modern lifestyles around the world are already causing unbelievable levels of sugar problems, which leads to diabetes, blood pressure problems, which leads to cardiac problems, stress problems that lead to mental stress. These are examples of the ailments and diseases of modern lifestyles. For this, we go to the doctor, and the doctors can only prescribe pills and insulin and such things, the modern medicine doctor. Well, for the ailments and diseases of modern lifestyles, there is no cure. So we will be on these pills and insulin forever. And those pills and insulin lead to kidney and other problems. So human health around the world is threatened. There is not one country in this world which has the medical resources and the knowledge to cure diabetes or mental stress or cardiac problems. This is the major challenges that we face today. We must get away from the culture of pharmaceuticals and modern medicine and go back to the oath of Hippocrates, which says you must treat a human being as one wholesome unit and focus on preventive, restorative, and curative treatments. So that is a major challenge for the world for human health. If we look around the world, there is traditional medicine. Every grandmother in every village around the world, whether it's the Aborigine village, or it's the Sami people in Norway, or it's a city like New York, where the grandmothers have knowledge, but we have never collected the knowledge of grandmothers. A grandmother knows that when you have a headache, she knows to send you possibly to a tree and do some breathing exercise. You go to a modern medicine doctor, before you've even spelled the word headache, the prescription for pills has been written. So we need to mobilize the traditional medical knowledge built over 5,000 or more years around this world. We need to look at what that offers us. We need to integrate it with modern medicine, because traditional medicine like Ayurveda in India, which is one of the biggest ones in terms of written knowledge of traditional medicine, the oath of Ayurveda is the same as the oath of Hippocrates. So it is time for traditional and modern medicine to come together to tackle the problems of human health. That is our highest priority. And when we tackle the problem of human health, we human beings will also awaken to the fact that, of course, we need to worry about our health. We need to be healthy. But health also needs to be healthy in mind. And when we are healthy in mind, we will begin to care about what is happening in our world, because we are one species out of maybe some 20, 30 million species, and we are all interdependent. And this is the focus on which I have spent my 35 years, and I've reached a point where I now realize that the world needs to make human beings sustainable.
And what a big challenge that's going to be based on everything that you've said just now. There's so many things going on in the world that with this modern day living that we all subscribe to, or most of us subscribe to, I shouldn't say all of us. And the way that you've explained that, we start to really think about, well, hang on a minute, how am I eating my meals? What am I thinking? How am I approaching stress? How am I approaching my illness? And you're really starting to make us think about what we're doing in our everyday lives. So you've come from a bigger picture of, sustainability for planet Earth. And you realize sitting on the beach in Bali that, hang on a minute, we will never be sustainable if humans aren't sustainable. So what have you found are some simple ways, or some ways that our listeners can start making an impact today? So let's look at the 5, I think you said there were 5 ingredients to this cocktail. So what could they do for one of those ingredients? Do you want to list off those ingredients again first? Let's list them off. What are the 5 ingredients in this cocktail?
One is the food.
The food.
That we consume. Secondly is the exercise, the balanced mental, physical, and spiritual exercise is the second. Third is the stress at home, in the family.
Yeah.
Fourth, the stress in our workplace and in our education place. And fifth is an ever more polluting world.
Okay. So for our listeners, what's something that you, with all the work and the knowledge you have, what's something they can do differently to start to shift around the first ingredient, around food? What were some suggestions that you've found that work really well?
Well, as I sat on that beach and realized that human beings need to be sustainable to preserve our world for future generations, I asked myself the question, well, what can we do? And then I looked at what is a typical life. You work 48 weeks, 46 weeks, and you have 4 to 6 weeks of holiday. More and more people are living in urban areas where you can go to restaurants every day, and many people do, and you can go and drink and go party and go to discotheques. All this is modern living. So when you go on holiday, in the past, because we didn't have access to so many restaurants and so many parties and so much drinking, we went on holiday, and that's what we did on holiday. Now we need to change our lifestyle, to go on holiday to understand what is wrong with me. Why can I not sleep? Why am I feeling digestion problems? And all the happy. So holiday time is a time for introspection, to look at what is happening in my life. And for that, you need to go to a place, beautiful place. It must be, because everybody loves beauty, but it must be a place where you can have people who will take care of your health and point out what are the problems you're facing. And you have to realize for yourself that when you go, it is not a question of going to a clinic and having such an experience. It's to go to a place for your 4-week holiday to find out the issues with your health, and to see what lifestyle changes I need to make. But you must have recreation, because recreation gives you happiness. You need health and happiness. So you must find the joy in your life on that holiday. And that's where it comes by whether you go on nature walk, or you go snorkeling, or you go and watch butterflies, or you listen to birds. So we need both health and happiness. And for this, I asked, well, where do we make a start? And I looked around the world where there are so many health resorts. India is full of them. And I visited maybe 60 or 80 resorts in India. And I found in general, all resorts, especially the ones I visited, tended to be clinical, of recreation and happiness. And around the world, yes, you have knowledge of spa. In Europe, this has been in the United States. There is knowledge of spa and massage, etc., around the world. But the question is, the spa industry has become such that it is a superficial, on the skin movement, and we need to look at healing spa, healing where massages are targeted. So after all this trial and error, it occurred to me that we need to combine traditional medicine measures around the world in traditional care, but also remember modern medicine, because the tomato of yesterday is not the same of tomato of today. So I combined these two and decided that I should perhaps do an experimental resort as the first step. And obvious answer was, go to be easy. You want the Ayurveda, yoga, meditation, naturopathy resort, spiritual resort. And I looked around and I looked at the possibilities were Hawaii and Bali. These are the two places, for me, the last two places where humanity and human beings are still humane. And to be humane is to have emotions. To have emotions is to heal. These are the two places, and unfortunately, the modern development in Hawaii has lost this tradition. It survives around the world in the poor villages. And Bali was one example where 80% of the people still practice the same way of life, the traditional way of life. And I decided that this was a place to do this experiment. And of course, I was also honoring the fact that the thought of this whole process came to me in Nusa Dua in Bali. So I did that 14 years ago. And over the last 14 years, we have developed a system where food. Now, what do we mean by food healthy? Well, first of all, the portion on your plate should be nutritionally balanced. And our parents have always taught us finish everything that's on the plate. If you eat out, that is always much more than we can eat. So we have developed food, and food has to be developed according to your constitution, your doshas, what is best for you. And that is individually different from people to people. If you put on a lot of weight, then there are certain foods you should avoid and certain food you should eat. So we developed a food system. We developed yoga, meditation, and pranayama. Pranayama, what is pranayama? That's breathing. I don't need to learn breathing. We all know how to breathe. Well, the only person who knows how to breathe is a baby that's less than 4 weeks old. You watch a baby's stomach, how deep the baby is breathing. We are shallow breathers. We are only using 60 to 70% of our lungs. So I then set out to see how can I adapt the yoga, the meditation, the pranayama, the herbal medicine of India and of traditional medicine from China. How can we adapt it to the needs of the modern lifestyles? And the needs of the modern lifestyles, unfortunately, in the current world is I don't have time for all that. I'm focused on my career. I'm focused on my work. So we adapted traditional medicine to modern lifestyle, and we have developed a simple thing. Let me give you just a simple example.
I'd love to hear the example.
Let us say you want many people around the world go for a massage. You decide I will have a Swedish massage or an Ayurvedic massage or a traditional massage of some form. When you enter the spa industry around the world has also received a lot of negativeness. We see the developments in Thailand, what people think of the spa industry. The spa has to be designed like a temple. So we have designed our spa in Bali with statues, with colors, with aroma, etc., like a temple, with incense burning and so on. But the most important thing is, in our spa, you have a foot bath with flowers before you enter. The spa therapist will explain what treatment will be, and they also ask what pain you have in your neck, in your back, in your knees, etc. All of these pains will be taken into account in terms of the spa that you have chosen, the spa massage. Then you enter the spa. You are made to sit on the bed. A therapist stands in front of you and asks you to put your hands in namaste position and close your eyes. Then she says a mantra in Sanskrit, which is non-religious. She's asking for nature's energy to be given to our hands and our heart and her soul to heal you. This so-called mantra takes around 5 minutes. Behind the person, behind the guest, are 2 to 3 more therapists. The 3-4 of them are singing the same mantra in perfect. Within 5 minutes, the guest who is going to have the massage is literally unconscious and whispering in their mind, please take my body, take my mind, take my soul, and heal me. And they are literally half unconscious as they lie down on the bed. And then the therapist, and remember in Ayurveda, there are 2 therapists to move your energy simultaneously. And then the healing massage starts. It's not a massage for the sake of massage. So this is one example of how we have adapted the Ayurveda of India and modified it to meet the need of modern lifestyles that you must be totally relaxed when you enter the spa. This is one example of it.
Yeah, and it's amazing. I'm just sitting here blissed out just listening to that whole process myself. I think you're knocking me unconscious just with telling me what it is you're doing there, which is amazing work. It sounds absolutely blissful, but not just blissful from a state of as short-term blissful. It's really getting into the core spiritual, mindful, physical. It's everything, isn't it?
That's correct. Now, it has to be long term. So our whole philosophy at Zen Resort, where most people come for 7 to 15 days, and they have these experiences of our focus in to show them, not to clean them out through complete diet and vegan food and so on, but we want to show them that continue your healthy lifestyle here and see what changes in achieving healthy lifestyles. How do you feel at the end? Do you sleep better after 7 days in the Zen Resort? Is your digestion system better? What are your thoughts, etc.? We are focused on giving experience and knowledge to the guests that they take home and they practice this at home. And let me give you one example of what such knowledge that we impart. We have developed what we call Zen Chi, similar to Tai Chi. This is a 45-minute exercise done at sunrise, at 6 o'clock in the morning, before you go to work. So if you go to work all night, then do it at sunset. So Zen Chi comprises of 15 minutes of physical, gentle yoga. The purpose of this exercise, because you've been sleeping all night, your metabolism is low, your whole systems have been reduced to slow. And the first aim of this exercise is to start to relax your joints, to start to move the blood in your body. At the end of 15 minutes, we need to reach a point where your circulation is fast. The rivers of blood are flowing through your body. The next 15 minutes is pure breathing, where we teach people to breathe into their stomach. The stomach must blow out, and breathe in deep and exhale, inhale and exhale slowly. That enables maximum oxygen in your lungs to enter the blood that is flowing and maximum toxins to go out. And the third 15 minutes is sit in silence with your thoughts and watching the birds and watching the sunrise in front of your eyes and appreciate the beauty of life. And this 3-level system we have been doing it for a decade, this Zen Chi. And every guest is sent a copy of the Zen Chi booklet by soft copy, not by hard copy, because we want them to share this with friends and family freely. And also the fact that many people going to work do not have 1 hour in the morning to exercise. For them, we have reduced the exercise from 45 minutes to 27 minutes, 9 minutes of physical, 9 minutes of breathing, and 9 minutes. And the feedback from our guests over the last 10 years is they are able to keep their colds away. The simple ailments of ill health do not enter. We have also many guests reporting that they seem not to put on any weight if they do this the whole year round. And most important is an element that we didn't even think about in Zen Chi. When you do Zen Chi, you're doing it in your bedroom, in your pajamas, in the comfort of a chair even. Which means the alternative to this is to go jogging in the morning, to go to the gym, or to do hard yoga, because sweaty yoga is what people think is exercise. When you go to the gym or go jogging or you do this exercise, you always push yourself a little bit because there are others around you doing it, and you pull a muscle here and there. If you do it in your bedroom, like we suggested, there's no one to compete with. So when you pull a muscle, you go home, take your breakfast, take your shower, and then you go to work. Well, Monday morning or any morning is always a difficult time because the colleagues come, why didn't you finish this yesterday? And there is the attack. And your response, because your knee is paining, is not so nice. But if you've done it in your own home, then you are simply energized without any, hopefully no muscle strain. And then you will listen to what this person shouting at you, and you will calmly say, can we discuss in a few minutes? And you diffuse the situation. So people have found Zen Chi to be a de-stressor, at least for the first half of the morning. After, in the afternoon, you need to find something else. But this de-stressor of Zen Chi is very interesting and something that we didn't even think about.
Yeah, and isn't that great to know that it equips somebody for the day? And I like what you're saying there around, you know, doing it at home. So I have a home-based business, so I'm lucky. I do my yoga in the morning, and I actually I've done a couple of yoga classes, but like you're just saying, there's that sense of competition and pushing yourself beyond the limits of what you are capable of doing. So when I'm at home, there's a little bit of pushing, but not so much. There's, you know, I'm still doing these movements, but there's no pressure and no competition of other people around me. And it's a really beautiful practice when I'm doing it on my own. And I'm not sure, is yoga something that has been created as something for someone to do on their own, or is it something that has been, the purpose is to go out there and do it in groups? Yeah, that's just a question that's come to mind.
The origin of yoga comes from India.
Yeah.
It's about asanas. Asanas is sitting in certain poses, standing in certain poses, with your limbs in certain way. That is what we call asanas. And that is important for your circulation and for your focus. But yoga, yuj, Y-U-J, also means consciousness. So you have yoga, which means asanas, which is in a way physical exercise. But there is another addition to this, which is consciousness. And consciousness is directly related to meditation, which is connected to how you breathe and meditate. So around the world, people are doing yoga. Today we have hot yoga, we have masala yoga, and we have integrated yoga with gym to make sure that if you sweat, that is good exercise. But that was not the purpose of yoga. You see, yogis will sit for hours controlling their breathing. Ideally, let me give you a very simple exercise in Zen Chi, which I described to you. One must do exercise. So let me show you how you do your exercise for your eyes. One of the exercises for your eyes is move your eyes left and right, or up and down, or circular. But in real Zen Chi, how we tell guests to do it is, when you move your eye left, breathe in. When you move eye right, breathe out. So yoga must coordinate your breathing with every movement you make must coordinate your breathing with your physical movement. Mm-hmm. That is what yoga is supposed to be. Now, the Prime Minister of India 3 years ago declared, the United Nations agreed to declare 21st of June as the International Day of Yoga. Every year on 21st June, 30,000, 50,000 people gather together in Times Square and they do yoga exercise. I wrote to the Prime Minister a year after he announced this, and I said, sir, it would be important to persuade the United Nations to create an International Day of Consciousness. Consciousness is to think twice that every action I take, what is the impact on the person next to me, or the plant next to me, or the animal next to me, or the air next to me. And when we have this consciousness, we would not have any environmental problem. Mm. So we need to recognize that yoga is asanas and exercises, and breathing and meditation, but it is also consciousness of what are the impact of the actions I take on everything that exists in the world around me.
Yeah,
so
That's a beautiful way. It's a beautiful way of looking at it as well. And I wanted to touch on the fifth ingredient in this cocktail, which you mentioned is pollution of the planet. So I'm starting to get really annoyed when here in Australia, we go into the supermarkets to get our food, or we go to the organic place to get our food, wherever we're going. And everything, it almost seems like everything is wrapped in plastic. Like there's this plastic everywhere. And I know plastic is one of the things that takes the longest to break down. So pollution of the planet, plastic is probably one of those things. But what is it that you're finding and you're doing at your resort around this? Because you did mention that it's all, you're tackling these 5 ingredients. So what are you doing around pollution, and what can we do on an everyday basis to start being more sustainable in our own practices as well?
At Zen Resort, we have, for example, solar power to heat all our water. So all water used at the resort is solar heated. We recycle all the gray water, which is the water in our showers and when we brush our teeth. This is recycled through various tanks and through various reefs, and we use that for our garden. Thirdly, at Zen Resort, we have also adopted a policy to ban all plastic bottles. So we are using steel bottles with the Zen logo we put on it, and there is a cost to this bottle. And the cost, without any profit for us, is around $7 a bottle. So we calculated how many bottles does a person drink from plastic every day. And if you take 2 liters, that's almost 4 plastic bottles in small bottles that people buy. And how much waste are we created with 50 guests in the resort, or 30 guests, which is our average. And it showed us that by giving every guest a free bottle at the airport, a Zen bottle made out of aluminum with a lining in it, sometimes with copper lining, is a small price to pay. And we decided that we will give to every guest at the airport a free bottle that they can use during the resort and take it home. So that is an example of a little video we did where a little Balinese girl, one of the staff members, no more plastic bottles at all resorts. And we need to adopt that because the world around is drinking from plastic.
Yeah.
We start thinking how we can do with dispensers. So that is one example. But beyond that, the bigger picture. I'm sorry, but my profession of 35 years always takes me to the bigger picture.
I want to hear the bigger picture.
What is happening in our world? Modern lifestyles is a world of plastics, as you said. Everything is wrapped in plastic. In Bali, 30 years ago, or not 30, maybe 50 years ago, everything was wrapped in banana leaves. And the poor people, even today, eat their food from banana leaves. And you could throw the banana leaf anywhere and nature would recycle it. Today, it's been replaced by plastic, largely. And plastic bags, plastic bottles, we discard them. And most of the garbage of modern lifestyles, it's a throwaway society. We even throw our computers away. We throw everything away. And all of it ends up either in a landfill or we throw it in the ocean. And what is thrown in the landfill, when it rains heavy, it takes it to the ocean. So we are throwing all our garbage from the land into the ocean. 80% of our world is water. 75% of our body is water. We spent the first 9 months of our life in a water womb. Life on earth began with 1 drop of water. Water is alive. Water is sacred. A Japanese scientist took 2 bottles of water from the same source, spoke to one bottle and said, I love you, spoke to the other bottle and said, I hate you, and made crystals out of the 2 bottles. The one where he loved were beautiful. and the ones who are in a mess. So water is alive. The world of water is under threat because of what we throw. As we speak, 500,000 square kilometers of plastic island is floating in the Pacific.
That just makes me feel horrible knowing that.
The world of water will one day strike back. A recent video where Morgan Freeman is the speaker on the world of water has an amazing conclusion. The video concludes that the world of water is one being, not millions of species living in that water. That when one element in that gives, the whole system will collapse. So the world of water is very important. How can we report on what's going on in the world of water? There are probably less than 1 million marine scientists in this world. 60 million people in the world go diving. In the world, which is 80% water, marine. In the last 100 years, we had one Jacques Cousteau who made a consciousness of the world of water. 3 billion people live on the coastline of this world. People who go diving are becoming ambassadors of the world of water. So we must see how we can increase the 60 million to 600 million and to 2 billion, which would be a quarter of the world's population, to become ambassadors and the voice of the marine world. The world of water, the oceans at its deepest are 15 kilometers deep. No man has been to the bottom of the ocean. The moon is 360,000 kilometers away. Man has been there many times and back. We need to treat water with respect. So how can we increase the number of divers and the number of ambassadors and the social voice? Because it is only the social voice that will push our leaders and our governments to take action before the world of water strikes back. You know, the dolphin used to be a mammal. And when life became difficult on Earth, it ended up in water. And there are scientists now working on, can human beings survive in the world of water? The answer is probably no, because our lungs will be difficult to adapt. So how do we increase the divers? And this was the challenge we had. And we asked ourselves, how can we persuade people to go diving and snorkeling and experience the world of water and become ambassadors? Well, human beings are selfish. We need to give them a selfish reason to go diving and snorkeling. There is nothing more selfish in this world than to tell a human being, you are going diving and snorkeling in the world of water to improve your health. So we looked into this problem, that how can the world of water help us? But the three most important things for human health is learn to breathe slowly and deeply, and none of us know how to breathe, especially as adults. So we need to learn to breathe. We need to learn to have meditative focus, meditation, and we need to do gentle exercise. So where can I go and learn to meditate, to learn to breathe, and to do gentle exercise? Simple answer is go to a yoga hall and let the yoga teacher teach you. But I also want to teach that 7-year-old little girl on breathing, meditation, and yoga, gentle exercise. How can I explain to a little girl of 7 that you need to learn to breathe? He said, I am breathing. What is meditation? She doesn't understand. So I need to send that little girl, and I need to send that adult to a place, because in the yoga hall, it's very difficult to learn to meditate with all the birds flying and people and everything else. Go to the world of water. Go underwater and learn to breathe. When you snorkel, automatically you are breathing in deep and slow. And when you snorkel, you are in this world where everything, the fish and the plants are gently moving. If you are in a swimming pool, watch the tiles. It's a different patterns. It's pure meditation. So you learn to breathe and you learn to meditate, even by snorkeling. And you're swimming. That's gentle exercise. But now let's go to the ocean. Again, learn to breathe, meditate by watching the underwater marine world. It's so beautiful, that world. That's why people go diving. The one problem was, to learn to breathe properly, you need to breathe with your nose. You try to breathe with your mouth. Deep breathing is difficult. Fortunately, an Italian company came with what they call an easy breathe, or a full face mask. When you put the full face mask for diving as well as for snorkeling, you can breathe through your nose. And that's all the problem. So we have adopted that system, and you go diving and snorkeling and learn to breathe, learn to meditate, and learn to do gentle exercise unconsciously. And that will improve your health, because if you do it often enough on land, you will start to breathe correctly. You will start to have meditation. And one example of the 7-year-old who needs to understand what is meditation, you say, well, you're at school. Is everyone in your class your friend? He said, no, that boy and that girl are always angry with me. He said, next time they're angry with you, you tell them, please, can we talk later? Very quietly. Because they've come to say your hair is ugly, or your this is ugly, or your dress is ugly, or you failed in your homework. Please, let's talk about it later. And that creates that window for the other person to calm down. And later you logically, you will discuss with them. So this is very important. And that's why we invented what we call Zen Harmony diving. And a simple example, because you talked about the supermarket. When you go to a supermarket, the first thing you encounter is the smell of bread and the smell of cakes being pumped through the air conditioning system. For most people, get this smell, they suddenly become 3 years old. They are in their kitchen with their mom or their grandma, and on that agar cooker, the bread is being prepared, cooked. And that security blanket around you makes you buy more and more in that supermarket. Well, we invented what we call Zen Su. Now, sometimes people are on the surgeon's table. And 30 minutes later, they're revived. Such people have written scientific articles. If you Google on the journey of death, you find people arriving at the gates of heaven and St. Peter and all those lights flashing. No one has written about the first 9 months of life in the womb. We developed what we call Zensu, which is adapted from Watsu. It's a special technique to float you in the water at the frequency of the womb. And 15% of the people, 85% of the people have the most relaxing 30 minutes of their life in the pool, ever, because they're literally in the womb. 10 to 15% of the people have a rebirth. And that rebirth, they see their parents. Now, nobody could see their parents the day you were born. You were blind. You couldn't hear for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. But you have a memory when you saw your dad holding you when you were 1 day old. You have recreated the story of how it was from the day you were born on this earth. And in your rebirth, you draw on that unconscious mind inside you to recreate that story. And now you see your mom and dad the day you were born, and you compare it with how mom and dad are today in your life, and all the difficulties that have arisen in relationships and so on. It becomes healing. The greatest thing to see is the joy in your parents' eyes the day you were born, and whatever problems arose in life. And it's not only the parents. Your relationship with your children is determined by your relationship with your mother. Your relationship with your partner is determined by your relationship to your dad. And this Zensu amazingly healing for so many people.
It
This is another
sounds wonderful. And I really love, like, with my background and what I've come to understand, I'm really loving the connection with the diving, with that yoga, meditation, and the breathing. And it's really, I've never thought of it before. I haven't been somebody who would go into the water a lot. And it sounds like, for me, that's something I need to bring back into my life. And I can just imagine, as a kid, we had a swimming pool, and I used to sit in the bottom of the swimming pool, and it was just blissful, just sitting there with my eyes open, looking around. And yeah, so we were doing that as a child. So it was really beautiful to hear about how water plays a really important part, not only for us getting into a meditative state, but also for the planet, and the big part that it plays in sustainability. And a lot of us forget about that. So I want to finish up now and just ask you, Mahendra, based on all your experience and based on what you're now offering to people, if you could give our listeners a message, what would your key message be? What would you like, final thoughts you'd like to leave them with today?
Take a look at yourself in the mirror. Take a look within yourself, in your mind, in your heart, and your soul. And ask the question, am I living a joyful, happy, healthy life? Find those moments and be truthful to yourself, and make a list of the positiveness and the negatives in your life. And when you have made this list of the positives and the negatives, for example, in the positives will be to look at your life and say, can I remember all the beautiful people who made a difference in my life? Mm-hmm. So you might have a list in that. Of all the negatives in your life, why am I anxious? Why am I drinking? Why am I doing this? And when you have made these two lists, take the ritual that is inherited from our ancestors, which is burn that piece of paper with all the things you do not wish to have in your life. That's called a fire ceremony. It's done by the Aborigine people. It's by many people in Sydney and Melbourne, and everybody does. Around the world, people do this. But at Zen Resort, we have different. We call it a flower and fire ceremony. The fire ceremony will be the same as what everybody does. Burn that piece of paper regularly, once a year maybe, things that you wish to let go. But before you do that, make a list of all the beautiful people who have ever been in your life, who made a difference in your life. There may be 30, maybe 50 people 100 people on your list. The first thing you do at Zen, what we offer, ask our reception for that many flowers. If you ask for 100 flowers, they'll give you 100 petals. But if you ask for up to 50 flowers, you will get 50 flowers, and sit in front of the fire in a beautiful grass lawn. Take one flower at a time, whisper the name of that first person on your list. There's no order here. They're all beautiful people. And you pay homage with your eyes closed to that person and drop that flower on the floor. And then the second, go through your list. It is highly emotional because no one takes the time to pay homage to all those who have until now been in your life. And then with that emotionality, you take the second step of the fire ceremony. So always in life, regularly take stock of who are you within and outside and what you wish to be. That is what we should all be doing.
Yeah, and I love that. Also, just to add to that, take stock of the people in your life that have made a difference, who have helped you, who have been kind, and honor them as well. So what a beautiful ceremony to be doing. So if people want to come and experience your resort, or get a hold of you, or read any of your articles, or even I think you said the Zen, was it the Zen Chai? Zen
Chi.
That's it, Zen Chi, sorry. Zen Chi. How can people find you? Where can they go to find more information around the resort, and also potentially to get the Zen Chi download if that's available?
Yes, they can write to us. they can go to our website and write to us, and we will freely send everyone a copy of Zen Chi and any other information they need. That is one way to do it. The other is also to find out about our vision and so on. They can do a Google search with my name, Mahendra Shah, United Nations, World Bank, Zen Resort, climate change, all of these challenges that we are facing. And I'm sorry, but I am all over in this reference list. And they come directly to me, because in many of these places, my email is there. They can write directly to me.
Excellent. Well, I'd like to thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be able to enlighten us and share your thoughts. I know there is so much more we could have gone through today, just with some of the other things that we've spoken about. But thank you so much for opening our eyes to, what we're doing to be able to, what we can do to be more sustainable within ourselves, that then has a flow on and a ripple effect onto the planet as well. So remembering the food that we're eating, are we exercising, and the things you've spoken about today, talk about, how we can make our home life better, how we can make our work life better, and most importantly, how we can impact the planet in a positive way. So I really thank you so much for your time today, Mahendra. It's been an absolute delight. And I sat here and just listened the whole time. It was wonderful. I didn't have to ask any questions because it was so informative. So once again, thank you so much.
Thank you for this privilege and for this honor. Thank you.
Wow. All I can say is, wow, what an amazing human being. And I think I could have just sat and listened to Mahendra just talk. Wouldn't he be a wonderful person just to be around? So much knowledge around the human experience, so much knowledge around sustainability, and his parting words on that little ritual you can do for yourself to be able to, look at the things that aren't working in your life and let them go, burn them, and then to really bless the people that have made a difference in your life. And if I had some flowers right now, I'd definitely be putting a flower aside for Mahendra. So thank you once again for joining us. And if you are interested in taking up some of his offers, and that is getting in contact with him or experiencing the resort, which I highly recommend. I think it's going on my wish list right now. Be sure to look him up on Google. Also, I will put some details for you in the show notes as well. If you've loved this episode, make sure you hit a like, tell your friends, write a comment, leave a review. Love to hear what you're getting out of the podcast. And please also send me a personal note if you think it's appropriate. So thank you so much, everyone, for staying on board, and stay curious. There's so many interesting, amazing, and extraordinary people on this planet. And I think we've just met one of the most amazing people. So thank you and enjoy your day.
Today is turning into the most curious adventure I've ever had.